Welcome to Arce's, where I told my wife's sister to shut the FCK up right in the middle of our pregnancy announcement dinner. There's me, 24 male, my newlywed wife, 24 female, and then her older sister, 28 female. Also, this is my first Reddit account. I'm not really on here, but my friends are all asleep right now, so this is like a last resort. Okay, so my wife's family is pretty well off. And sometimes they throw these big, spontaneous dinner parties and invite their friends, colleagues, family. You get it. And my wife decided that it'd be a good time and place to announce our pregnancy. We got to the place, and I'll be honest, most of my wife's family doesn't really fuck with me. Not sure if you're allowed to swear on here. If not, sorry. So I'm used to them giving me weird stares, especially because they're pretty conservative. And I have bleached hair and a couple of face piercings, which I had made really extra good sure to take out before I showed up with my wife. But her sister was literally giving me the evil eye, man. I'm telling you. Look, okay, so before I even get into the absolute chaos that went down at this dinner party, I need you guys to understand the dynamic here. Picture this. I'm this 24-year-old dude with bleached hair and face piercings, right? And my wife's family is like country club conservative. You know what I mean? Like, they probably have never seen someone like me except maybe on reality TV or something. So anyway, we walk into this fancy dinner party, and I'm already feeling the vibe, you know? It's one of those situations where you can literally feel the judgment radiating off people. But whatever, I'm used to it by now. My wife is glowing because she's excited to share our news, and honestly, that's all that matters to me. But her sister... Her sister was giving me looks that could literally kill. Like, if stares were daggers, I would have been dead before we even sat down for appetizers. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe she's just having a bad day or something, maybe work was stressful. But nah, it was definitely targeted at me specifically. The whole family dynamic is just... it's a lot, you guys. They're the type of people who probably think my tattoos are gang-related or something, when really I just like art and wanted some cool designs on my body. But they see alternative appearance and immediately assume I'm some kind of delinquent who's corrupting their precious daughter. And here's the thing. My wife loves me for who I am. She doesn't want me to change. She doesn't want me to become some cookie-cutter suburban dad clone. But her family? They've been trying to get her to dump me since day one. So walking into this dinner party, I already knew it was going to be an uphill battle. But we had this amazing news to share, right? We're having a baby. This should be a happy moment. A time for celebration, bringing the family together. My wife was so excited. She'd been planning this announcement for weeks. She wanted to do it somewhere special, with all her loved ones around. I should have known something was up when her sister kept looking at her phone and then glaring at me. Like, the whole night she was doing this thing where she'd check her phone, look at me with disgust, then whisper something to whoever was sitting next to her. It was making me paranoid as hell. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and you can just sense that people have been talking about you? That's exactly what this was like. Except it wasn't just one or two people. It felt like the entire family had gotten some kind of memo about me that I wasn't privy to. My wife, bless her heart, was completely oblivious to all of this. She was just excited about becoming a mom and sharing that joy with her family. But me? I was sitting there trying to figure out what the hell I'd done wrong this time. It started with some joke my sister-in-law made about how dead my hair was, which didn't bother me because it is, and also that's one of those things my wife always jokingly picks on me for, so I was like, okay, well maybe her sister just assumed it was something she was allowed to joke about too. But it just kept getting worse, like she literally got to the point where she was talking about my PA, Prince Albert. I shit you not, I was so embarrassed. And like, why would a little bit of a gossip? So like, sure, she probably told her sister about it, IDK. I'm not bothered over that. What I was upset about is the fact that this lady was bringing up all this personal stuff in front of my other in-laws, and I got that vibe that she was doing it on purpose to be mean to me, which sounds harsh, but for fuck's sake, man. But I could see my wife getting visibly uncomfortable, so I just kept quiet, and I turned away from her and minded my P's and Q's. Okay, wait. Let me back up here because I'm getting ahead of myself, and you guys need the full context of how insane this got. So we're sitting at this fancy dinner table, right? And my sister-in-law starts with the hair comment. Fine, whatever. My wife jokes about my hair all the time, so I figured maybe she mentioned it to her sister, and now her sister thinks we're all buddy-buddy enough for her to roast me too. But then, and this is where it gets absolutely wild, she starts talking about my Prince Albert piercing at the dinner table, in front of everyone. Look, I'm not ashamed of my body modifications, okay? But there's a time and place for everything, and your sister's formal dinner party with your conservative in-laws is definitely not the time to be discussing someone's genital piercings. Like, what the actual hell? And the way she was doing it too. It wasn't like a casual mention or an accident. She was being deliberately crude about it, describing it in detail, making jokes about how it must affect our sex life. I'm sitting there turning red, my wife looks mortified, and her parents are literally choking on their wine. You know what I think happened? I think my wife told her sister about it in confidence, probably during some girl talk session, and her sister filed that information away to use as ammunition against me later. Because the timing was too perfect, you know? She waited until we were all sitting there, trapped at this dinner table, and then just went nuclear. My wife was getting more and more uncomfortable, and I could see her shooting her sister these please stop looks, but her sister was on a roll. She had found her opening to humiliate me in front of the entire family, and she was taking full advantage. So I'm sitting there, trying to be the bigger person, trying not to cause a scene at what's supposed to be our pregnancy announcement dinner. I turned away from her, focused on my food, tried to change the subject. Classic conflict avoidance technique, right? Just wait it out, let her get it out of her system, and hopefully we can move on to the actual reason we're here. But this woman, she wasn't done. Not even close. The whole vibe of the dinner shifted after that. What was supposed to be this beautiful moment where we share our happy news with the family had turned into this awkward, tense situation, where I'm being publicly humiliated and my wife is caught in the middle. And here's the thing that really gets me. Nobody else at the table said anything. Not her parents, not her other relatives. Nobody stepped in to be like, hey, maybe let's dial it back a bit. They all just sat there watching this train wreck happen, probably thinking I deserved it because of how I look or whatever assumptions they've made about me. Eventually, it came time for my wife to announce our baby. And my brother-in-law asked how far along she was, and she told him she was about 6 weeks, which is like a week off from our wedding date, and I genuinely didn't understand why that should be a problem. But of course, it had to be a point of contention, and my wife's sister had to put her 2 cents in and said something along the lines of, "You couldn't wait a few more minutes after the wedding," or something close to that. I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. I got really mad because I've been borderline horrible the whole night, and so I told her to shut the fuck up, kinda really loudly, and I sort of made a scene. My wife made us leave and go home, and she didn't directly get mad at me or anything, but I can tell she's not happy. She seems pretty sad. I feel like I turned her moment into just being about me and our argument, but then another part of me feels like I should have said something worse and gotten even madder at her. IDK. I can't tell if I'm a dick or not. I feel bad. Yo. Why, yo? Hold up, let me break this down for you guys because this is where everything goes completely off the rails. So my wife finally gets to announce the pregnancy, right? This moment she's been planning and looking forward to. And everyone's acting all excited and asking questions, which should be normal, wholesome family stuff. But then her brother-in-law asks how far along she is. 6 weeks. My wife says 6 weeks. Now, here's some quick math for you. We got married about 7 weeks ago. So we're talking about a baby that was conceived like a week after our wedding. Maybe even on our honeymoon. This should be romantic, right? This should be like, oh, honeymoon baby, how sweet. But nah, not in this family. Her sister, the same one who spent the entire dinner roasting me about my appearance and my private piercings, immediately jumps on this timeline like she's some kind of pregnancy detective. And she goes, "You couldn't wait a few more minutes after the wedding," with this smug, judgmental tone. Minutes. She said minutes. Like, excuse me? Are you seriously implying that my wife and I should have waited longer after our wedding to have sex? We're married adults. We're allowed to have sex whenever we want. The audacity of this woman to comment on our intimate life, again, after already humiliating me for the past hour. I lost it, you guys. I completely lost my shit. I told her to shut the fuck up. And yeah, I said it loudly. Really loudly. Loud enough that probably the neighbors heard it through the walls of their fancy house. Look, I'm not proud of making a scene. I know my wife was embarrassed. I know I turned what should have been a beautiful family moment into drama. But what was I supposed to do? Just sit there and let this woman continue to disrespect me and my marriage? She spent the entire evening attacking my appearance, talking about my private body parts, and then had the nerve to judge the timing of our pregnancy like we're some kind of irresponsible teenagers who couldn't keep it in our pants. My wife immediately wanted to leave after that, and I could tell she was upset, not just at me, but at the whole situation. This was supposed to be her big moment, her chance to share happy news with her family, and instead it turned into a screaming match. The car ride home was brutal. She wasn't yelling at me or anything, but she was quiet. That disappointed quiet that's somehow worse than actual anger. And I'm sitting there feeling like absolute garbage because I know I ruined her night. But at the same time, I keep thinking about what else I could have said. Part of me feels like I should have gone even harder on her sister. Like, this woman has been disrespecting me all night, and I'm supposed to just take it? Update. Okay, I didn't expect this post to blow up, but I actually have an edit to make pretty soon after everything happened. So my wife isn't upset at me, she's mad at her behavior, and when I asked if she was mad at me too, she shook her head no. So at least I know I'm on good on that front. She also said she'll try to stop sharing so much about our relationship with her sister, which kind of makes me sad because they're really close and they used to talk about everything, so I feel like that's another thing her sister would get upset if I don't know her as well personally. But my wife claims she didn't use to act like this way. Me and my wife are heading to bed now. Just thought I'd update before I forget about this post. Or, thank you for the input, everyone. Look. Okay, so I posted this whole thing expecting to get absolutely roasted in the comments. I figured everyone was going to be like, YTA, you're a grown man, you should have handled it better, blah, blah, blah. But something interesting happened after I posted this. My wife and I actually talked about it properly when we got home. And you guys, she wasn't mad at ME. She was mad at her sister. When I asked her directly, because I was sitting there feeling like the world's biggest asshole, she shook her head and said no, she wasn't upset with me. She was upset with how her sister behaved all night. And here's the kicker. She said she's going to stop sharing personal details about our relationship with her sister. Which, honestly, makes me feel validated but also kind of sad. Like, these two have always been super close. They tell each other everything. They have that sister bond where nothing is off limits. But now my wife realizes that her sister was using intimate details about our marriage as weapons against me. The hair jokes, the Prince Albert comments, the pregnancy timing criticism, all of that came from private conversations between sisters that got weaponized. My wife said something that really stuck with me. She said her sister didn't used to act this way, which makes me think, maybe this isn't really about me. Maybe her sister is going through something. Or maybe she's always been judgmental but had never had a target before I came along. But you know what the hardest part is? I feel responsible for driving a wedge between them. These sisters have been close their whole lives. And now because of me, or because of how her sister treats me, that relationship is going to change. My wife is going to have to put up boundaries with her own sister because her sister can't behave like a decent human being around me. That's heavy, man. Like, I never wanted to be the reason someone had to choose between their spouse and their family. Even though technically I'm not making her choose, her sister's behavior is forcing the choice. I keep thinking about what this means long term. Family gatherings are going to be weird now. Holidays are going to be tense. What happens when our baby is born? Is her sister going to continue being hostile? Or is she going to expect everything to just go back to normal? And the thing that really gets me is, I don't even know what I did to deserve this level of hostility. Like, okay, I look different than what they're used to. I have piercings and bleached hair, but I'm a good husband to their daughter. I work hard, I treat her well, I love her with everything I have. But sometimes that's not enough for some people, you know? Sometimes people just decide they don't like you, and then they spend all their energy looking for reasons to justify that dislike. My wife is trying to protect our relationship and our growing family, which I appreciate more than I can express. But I also feel guilty that she has to protect us from her own sister. Anyway, we're heading to bed now. Thanks for listening to my rant, internet strangers. Sometimes you just need to get this stuff off your chest. Okay, so what the hell did I just read? Look, I've covered a lot of Reddit stories on this channel, but this one got me fired up, you guys. Let me break this down for you because there are so many layers of dysfunction here that I don't even know where to start. First off, OP, my guy, you are absolutely not the asshole here. Like, not even close, and I'm going to tell you why. This sister-in-law is a piece of work. She spent the entire evening systematically humiliating this dude in front of his new family. She's talking about his hair, his piercings, his private parts, at the dinner table, like some kind of psychopath. Who does that? And you know what really gets me? The family just sat there and watched it happen. Not one person stepped in to be like, hey, maybe let's tone it down. They all just let this woman verbally abuse their daughter's husband at what was supposed to be a celebration dinner. Then, she has the audacity to judge the timing of their pregnancy? Like, excuse me, ma'am, but these are two married adults who can have sex whenever they damn well please. The fact that she calculated the conception timeline and decided to shame them for it is absolutely unhinged behavior. As a married person myself, I can tell you right now, if someone disrespected my spouse like this at a family dinner, I would have lost my mind way sooner than OP did. The man showed restraint for hours before finally snapping. And here's what really pisses me off about these kinds of situations. OP is sitting there questioning if he's the bad guy. That's what emotional abuse does to people, yo. It makes you doubt your own reactions to completely unreasonable behavior. The sister-in-law created a hostile environment, weaponized private information, publicly humiliated him, and then played victim when he finally had enough. That's textbook manipulation right there. But you know what gives me hope? His wife's reaction? She wasn't mad at him. She was mad at her sister. That tells me this woman has her priorities straight. She sees her sister's behavior for what it is, and she's willing to set boundaries to protect her marriage. That takes guts, especially in a family dynamic where the husband is clearly seen as the outsider. It would have been easy for her to just tell him to keep the peace, or that's just how she is. Instead, she's choosing her marriage over her sister's toxic behavior. And honestly, the sister probably doesn't like OP because he represents everything her conservative family fears. He's different, he's alternative, and he makes them uncomfortable. Rather than examining their own prejudices, they decided to make him the villain. Now let's talk butthole ratings. OP, 0 out of 5 buttholes. Dude showed incredible restraint and only snapped after hours of abuse. Completely understandable reaction. The wife, 0 out of 5 buttholes. She handled this perfectly, supported her husband while also recognizing her sister's behavior was wrong. The sister-in-law, 5 out of 5 buttholes. This woman is a straight-up bully who weaponized private information to humiliate someone at a family gathering. Absolutely disgusting behavior. The rest of the family, 3 out of 5 buttholes for enabling this behavior and not stepping in when things got uncomfortable. Here's my question for you guys in the comments. What would you have done in OP's situation? Would you have snapped sooner, or would you have tried to tough it out for your spouse's sake? And do you think the sister-in-law was testing boundaries, or was she genuinely trying to break up their marriage? Also, side question, am I crazy for thinking this sister might be jealous? Like, maybe she's seeing her younger sister happy and married and having a baby, and she's taking her own issues out on the husband? Let me know what you think down below. And OP, if you're watching this, you did nothing wrong, brother. Protect your family and don't let anyone make you feel bad for standing up for yourself. Okay. In end, please subscribe my channel, Reese Yes.